You picked the wrong family to mess with, I whispered as I looked down at the security badge in my hand. The same fake badge worn by the HOA thug who had knocked my pregnant wife unconscious just hours earlier over a few tomato plants. They had no idea they'd just attacked the wife of a decorated Navy SEAL with 6 combat deployments and specialized training in making people disappear. Let me back up. That morning, the sun highlighted Sarah's 8-month pregnant belly as she tended her small garden. Her doctor recommended it for stress management during pregnancy. I watched from our kitchen window, savoring civilian life after 15 years as a SEAL, where my teammates called me Ghost. My teammates once called me Ghost for appearing silently during operations. Now I was just Mike Taylor, preparing for fatherhood in Oak Ridge Estates. Our neighbors knew I was military, but not about my special operations background. The folded flag in my office and the trident tattoo were the only visible signs of my former life. We deliberately kept a low profile until Karen Mitchell became HOA president. Her first act? Hiring neighborhood security that looked suspiciously like police, dark blue uniforms, badges, SUVs with light bars, and neighborhood enforcement on the sides. Sarah noticed them first. "Mike, something's not right about these guys," she whispered, watching them measure our neighbor's grass with rulers. The next day, we found our first violation notice taped to our mailbox. Unapproved vegetation in front yard landscaping, it read. $50 daily fine per unauthorized plant, effective immediately. The notice included close-up photos of Sarah's vegetable garden with each tomato plant circled in angry red marker. I called the HOA office immediately. "This garden has been here since we moved in," I explained calmly. "My wife is 8 months pregnant, and her doctor recommended gardening. For stress management, these are just tomato plants." Karen's voice was ice cold. Section 8, paragraph 3 clearly states that all visible vegetation must be from the approved plant list. Vegetables must be grown in backyard areas only, hidden from street view. "My wife needs easy access. Our backyard has steep stairs," her doctor advised against in the 3rd trimester. "Rules are rules, Mr. Taylor," Karen replied dismissively. "Perhaps you should have thought about that before moving into a covenant-controlled community." The security patrols increased after our call. I often caught them photographing our house, measuring our lawn, inspecting our mailbox height. When I confronted them, they'd cite obscure regulations with practiced authority. "Your garden lights exceed permitted lumens," one informed us one evening. "The approved shade of tan on your window trim is sandstone beige, not desert beige." Another wrote in a citation, "The fines multiplied, $75 for excessive bird activity at feeder, $100 for non-conforming yard art, a small ceramic frog Sarah loved, $150 for unauthorized wind chime acoustic frequency." None of these violations existed before Karen took over. Our neighbors suffered too. The Wilsons received daily fines for their son's basketball hoop. Elderly Mrs. Peterson was cited for her bird feeder being 2 inches too low. The Garcias found a $300 fine for cultural decorations exceeding diversity guidelines. They had put up papel picado for their daughter's birthday. I began investigating quietly, using skills honed through years of intelligence gathering. The security company, Community Enforcement Solutions, had been registered just 3 months ago under the name Robert Mitchell, Karen's brother. None of the guards had proper security licensing or training. They're wearing fake badges. "Sarah," I told my wife one evening, "the design is nearly identical to county sheriff badges. That's illegal impersonation." Sarah's pregnancy had become increasingly difficult. Her blood pressure was rising concerning her doctor. "Stress is a significant factor," the doctor had warned us. "She needs to remain calm these last weeks." Late one night, I noticed the security SUV parked across from our house watching. I circled through backyards, approaching from their blind spot. "May I help you, gentlemen?" I asked, appearing suddenly at the driver's window. The guard jumped, spilling coffee. "Just routine surveillance," he stammered. "HOA approved." "Surveillance requires written notification under state law," I replied calmly. "And those police-style light bars are illegal on civilian vehicles." The taller guard, his nameplate read Jensen, stepped out, hand hovering near what looked like a taser. "You should mind your own business if you know what's good for you, Taylor." His partner joined him, surrounding me in practiced intimidation. "Wouldn't want anything happening to your pregnant wife's garden, would we?" My combat instincts screamed to neutralize the threat, but I maintained control. "If anything happens to my wife or her garden, our next conversation won't be this pleasant." Jensen stepped closer. "Is that a threat, military boy?" "Just a promise between professionals," I replied, letting just enough of my training show in. My stance. Something in my eyes made both men step back. The next morning, Sarah found all her tomato plants uprooted, carefully replanted upside down. "This is getting ridiculous," she said, tears welling in her eyes as she cradled her belly. "What kind of people destroy a pregnant woman's garden?" I documented everything, building a case for the real police. But Karen had connections in local government. My complaints disappeared into bureaucratic limbo. The final provocation came when we received a certified letter. Final notice. All unauthorized vegetation must be removed within 24 hours or property lien proceedings will commence. The fine had reached $2,500. "I'll handle this," I assured Sarah, seeing her hand trembling as she read the letter. "Just focus on staying calm for the baby." Sarah shook her head. "No, I'm going to document everything. These bullies are breaking the law, and we need evidence." I had a VA hospital appointment the next morning. Routine checkup for an old shoulder injury from my final deployment. Sarah insisted I keep it. "Go," she said, kissing me goodbye. "I'll just work in the garden while you're gone. The fresh air helps my back pain." I hesitated, sensing trouble. "Maybe I should reschedule." "Mike, I'll be fine," she insisted. "They're just pathetic bullies. I'll record everything if they show up. I should never have left." The call came just 45 minutes later, not from Sarah, but from our neighbor Ted. "Mike, get to Memorial Hospital now," his voice shaking. "Those HOA security guys, they hurt Sarah. She's unconscious. Ambulance just took her." My military training kicked in, keeping my mind clear despite the panic rising in my chest. I arrived at the emergency room in 11 minutes flat. "What happened?" I demanded, my hands shaking with a combination of fear and rage I hadn't felt since my last combat deployment. Ted pulled out his phone. "I got it on video. I was washing my car when those two HOA guys showed up at your place." The video showed everything. Jensen and his partner standing over my wife as she kneeled by her tomato plants. Sarah's voice was calm but firm. "My husband already discussed this with the HOA. I have a doctor's note." "We don't care about doctor's notes. Remove these plants now, or the fine doubles." When Sarah stood up and started recording them with her phone, everything escalated. "You can't record us," the shorter guard shouted, reaching for her phone. "This is my property. I have every right to record." That's when it happened. Jensen grabbed her arm while his partner tried to take her phone. Sarah lost her balance, and instead of catching her, Jensen shoved her, sending her crashing to the ground, her head hitting the garden stone border. The video showed Sarah lying motionless as the guards looked at each other in panic before running to their vehicle. The doctor finally appeared, her face serious. "Mrs. Taylor has a concussion, but the baby appears stable. We're monitoring both carefully." The impact could have been much worse, but the soft soil reduced the force. Relief flooded through me, quickly replaced by a cold, focused anger I hadn't felt since my last mission. When can I see her? She's still unconscious, but you can sit with her. I thanked Ted, then called my longtime friend Jake, now a detective with the county sheriff's office. I need you to run some names for me, I said, giving him the information from the guards' badges. Something's not right about these guys. Jake called back 20 minutes later while I was sitting beside Sarah's hospital bed, holding her hand. Mike, those guys aren't licensed security guards. The company was registered 3 months ago by Karen Mitchell's brother. No proper credentials, no training certifications. They're basically playing dress-up as law enforcement. My jaw tightened. This wasn't just HOA overreach. This was organized criminal activity hiding behind community regulations. Looking at my unconscious wife, her belly still carrying our child, I made a decision. Ghost was coming out of retirement. I'll be back soon, I promised, kissing Sarah's forehead before leaving the hospital. She had regained consciousness, but was groggy, her eyes filled with fear when she touched the bruise forming on her temple. "The baby," were her first words. "Stable," I assured her, squeezing her hand. "Don't worry about anything else right now." Jake was waiting in the parking lot. "What's the plan, Ghost?" "First, intelligence gathering." My voice had shifted to something colder, more precise. "Then, accountability." "Mike, let me handle this officially," Jake pleaded. "You said yourself Karen has connections. By the time the bureaucracy moves, they could hurt someone else." My first stop was my own house. Jake's call warned me. "They're at your house right now, Mike. 2 guys in those fake uniforms tearing up the garden." I parked a block away and approached my property silently, using cover techniques that had kept me alive in 6 war zones. Jensen and his partner were laughing as they destroyed Sarah's garden, ripping plants from the soil and stomping on the tender vegetables. 15 years of special operations had taught me to move without sound. I was behind them before they realized anyone was there. "Gentlemen," I said quietly. Both men spun around, startled. Recognition flashed across their faces. "You should be at the hospital with your wife," Jensen sneered. "I had something to take care of first," I replied, my voice calm but edged with steel. What happened next took less than 30 seconds. A precise strike to Jensen's throat cut off his shout. As he dropped to his knees, gasping for air, his partner reached for the taser on his belt. My leg swept his feet from under him before his hand reached the weapon. I secured both with their own zip ties, positioned them face down in the mud where Sarah's garden had been, then knelt between them. "My pregnant wife is in the hospital with a concussion because of you," I whispered. "I could do things to you right now that would leave no evidence but ensure you'd never walk properly again." I showed them my phone with Ted's video playing. "I have this, plus security camera footage showing you trespassing and destroying my property. You have 2 choices, face legal consequences or make this personal with me. Choose wisely." The fear in their eyes told me they understood. I cut their zip ties with my pocket knife. "This was just the introduction. Now get off my property." As they scrambled away, I began my real operation. This wasn't just about 2 thugs. It was about dismantling an entire criminal enterprise. Under cover of darkness, I bypassed the HOA office's security system, using techniques that had once gained me access to enemy compounds. Inside, I photographed documents showing Karen had directed her security team to target specific homeowners who had opposed her election, with my house highlighted as a priority enforcement zone. Financial records revealed the security company charging triple the market rate, with profits split between Karen and her brother. Most disturbing were the surveillance logs. The team had been monitoring residents, recording their daily schedules, and noting when homes would be empty. Next, I located their headquarters, a small office behind Karen's brother's house. My surveillance revealed 8 guards total, all without proper licensing. Through my high-powered lens, I spotted a cabinet of weapons, tasers, batons, and what appeared to be actual firearms. I needed to act before they realized how much I knew. When Jake confirmed a pattern of similar operations in 3 other communities, I decided to end this immediately. I tracked Jensen and his partner to their training facility, a small gym attached to the office space. As they walked to their cars after a late session, car alarms suddenly blared across the parking lot, causing them to separate. Jensen found his SUV filled to the windows with garden soil, tomato plants placed across his dashboard. As he screamed, in rage, I emerged from the shadows. "You seem upset about plants in the wrong place," I said quietly. "I understand completely." His hand went for his belt, but 15 years of combat training versus whatever weekend course he'd taken was no contest. I left him secured to his SUV's roof rack with garden stakes through his belt loops, dirt filling his pockets, tomato plants arranged around him like an art display. His partner didn't fare much better. He'd run into the stairwell, only to find me waiting on the landing. "You hit a pregnant woman," I said, my voice echoing in the concrete space. "Now it's my turn." Both men were left with copies of the HOA rulebook taped to their chests, open to Section 12. Harassment of residents is strictly prohibited. The final phase came at the emergency HOA meeting Karen had called to address recent security concerns. The community center was packed with homeowners, many now openly challenging Karen's authority after hearing about Sarah. I sat quietly in the back, waiting. Karen appeared flustered, her security team noticeably absent. "We're here to discuss increased measures to protect our community," she began, her voice lacking its usual confidence. That's when the doors opened and Jake walked in, accompanied by FBI agents and local police. "Karen Mitchell," he announced formally, "we have a federal warrant for your arrest on charges of racketeering, operating an unlicensed security force, and conspiracy to commit fraud." Karen's face drained of color. She bolted for the rear exit, only to find me standing there, arms crossed. "Going somewhere?" I asked quietly. She pulled out a taser, but before she could activate it, I had disarmed her with a simple wrist lock, the device clattering to the floor. "That's what accountability feels like," I said as she gasped in pain. Sarah appeared behind me, her pregnant belly prominent, the bruise on her temple still visible. "You ordered those men to target my garden specifically," she said, her voice steady. "You didn't care that I was pregnant, that it was doctor-recommended therapy." As real police officers led Karen away in handcuffs, Jake approached. "We found everything, Mike. Surveillance equipment, illegal weapons, financial records showing hundreds of thousands in fraudulent fines. They're looking at serious federal time." The community voted unanimously that night to dissolve the HOA entirely. 3 months later, Sarah and I welcomed our son James to the world. Our front yard now boasts the biggest vegetable garden in the neighborhood, and our community has never been closer. Neighbors who once lived in fear now gather regularly for cookouts and gardening tips. Karen and her brother received federal sentences for racketeering and fraud. The security guards faced various charges, with Jensen and his partner receiving additional sentences for assault. Sometimes Sarah catches me watching our son sleep, and she knows I'm thinking about how close we came to losing everything. "He's safe," she'll whisper, taking my hand. We all are. The garden flourishes now, symbols of life and resilience growing from soil once trampled by fake authority. It stands as a living reminder that while I left my military career behind, some battles are still worth fighting, especially when they come to your own front yard.